All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. It is Tuesday, October 29th. We got 4 NBA games to dive into in today's video. Like we always do, we're going to go through each of these games. I'm going to give you my lean on the side. I'll give you my lean on the total. We'll talk about any other plays like player props that we're liking in the game as well. But as always, guys, keep an eye on the pinned comment of this video. That is where all of my final plays, so I'm actually rolling with myself, all of those plays will live. In terms of last night, I think we'll take a cha-ching. We go 5-1. The Rockets covered for us. And then we had Mobley, Bane. Bane was my favorite play of the night, and he smacked that early. In fact, I sprinkled a little bit, not in terms of an official play, but sprinkled a little bit on Desmond Bane 25+ points last night for plus 250. That cashed as well, but we don't get to count that here. But Bane cashed, then Colin Sexton and Scoot Henderson also cashed for us. The only bad one, and I guess it's not a bad read, he didn't end up hitting it, but Keontae George over 1.5 3-pointers made. He was like 1 of 7 from 3. He started the game like 0 of 5 from 3 and just shooting bad overall. So I guess it was a bad read, but he definitely got the quantity and volume. So we were that close to a 6-0 sweep of a night. But you know what? We'll take the 5-1. I don't think we can complain about that. Speaking of not complaining, our ride of the day also comes through here from Parlay Guru. Had DeAndre Ayton to record a double-double. He did just that with his 20 points and 11 rebounds last night against the Kings. How about another cha-ching? We're abusing the freaking soundboard today. Shout out to Parlay Guru. If you guys don't know what the ride of the day is, it is very simple. Just use that hashtag ride of the day or ROTD in the comments. Give me your favorite plays. I'm jumping on board with one person's pick, giving you a shout out in the next video, win or loss. If you win like Parlay Guru did, we continue to ride with your play until you come up shy. So Parlay Guru, we're looking forward to seeing what you drop today. But even still, guys, new people and returning, make sure to get those hashtag ride of the days in the comments, because 2 reasons. If Parlay Guru does not come through with a play and he doesn't post one in time, which I know you will, but if he doesn't, we need some backups and we gotta ride with someone else, right? And also, these ride of the days help a lot of people out in the comments. I tell you guys all the time, there's so many people in the comments a hell of a lot smarter than me. So go ahead and drop your plays in the comments and help the community out. But what do you say we dive into today's games, guys? Before we do, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We're getting there. 100,000 subscribers is in the crosshair. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button if you are new. But let's dive into it. Game number 1 here. We're looking at Minnesota taking on Dallas. Minnesota 2-1 on the season. Dallas 2-1 as well, but they are coming off of a back-to-back here. They beat Utah last night 110-102, whereas Minnesota hasn't played in a couple days. So they are definitely fresh. They are the home team, and I guess it's worth noting Dallas, the one loss, they're 2-1 this year. The one loss they have did come on the road against a Phoenix team. Good team, but so is Minnesota. Now, I think this is going to be a Minnesota game, not just because of the back-to-back, but Minnesota's defense has looked good. In terms of opponent points per game, they're top 10. Defensive efficiency, they're good, but so is Dallas. I think both teams' defense has been pretty good to start the year, but overall, I think Minnesota wins the defensive battle. I think they win the rebounding battle. I think that they should win the perimeter battle for sure, but both Dallas and Minnesota are kind of parallel in some of these stats, so I will mention that. I get it if you like, Dallas plus the 5 points. I just think that Minnesota is that much better defensively, and that's going to matter here because we haven't seen the strongest of offense out of either of these teams to start the year. So yeah, give me Minnesota minus the 5 points, but like I'm saying, I do get the Dallas angle, and I can see someone getting there. To me, I think that this one turns defensive, and I would trust Minnesota there. Weirdly enough, you're thinking Minnesota's defense, you're like, oh, no one can score at the rim, and Rudy Gobert's down there and whatnot, but and honestly, I just figured this out like an hour and a half ago, but points in the paints allowed here, Minnesota has been really bad this year. 28th ranked in terms of points the paints allowed. Dallas has been way better. They're 7th. So just FYI, that's not the reason we like Minnesota defensively. I think Minnesota's going to lock up on the perimeter, and we know how important that is to, obviously, the Mavericks scoring with Luka, Kyrie, and Klay. So yeah, it's kind of a weird spot, but maybe it'll change in the few weeks and whatnot. We get more data, but isn't that weird that Minnesota's actually struggling defensively at the rim this season? I don't know, kind of weird to me, but give me Minnesota minus the 5 points. In terms of a total, 222.5, I think they can run on Dallas because they're fresh. They have the fresh legs. Edwards running the court and whatnot. I don't think they're going to need to. It's a Minnesota team that has the 6th slowest pace to start the year. I think that this one does end up going under, but I will say I like Minnesota -5 a lot more than I do the total. So if you are on the over 222.5 and you have a good rationale, don't let what I'm saying, cause you any harm or make you switch your play there. I like the under, but I'd rather, if I had a gun to my head and had to pick something in this game, it would be either Minnesota -5 points or the player prop we're about to talk about here, which is Anthony Edwards over 3.5 3-pointers made. This is a quantity, not a quality play. I don't think Anthony Edwards is all that great of a shooter. He's not terrible, but he's not phenomenal. Last season, Dallas allowed the 5th most threes to the shooting guard position. This season, to ball handlers in general, they're allowing a lot of, stop and pop threes, catching through threes. They haven't been all that tremendous in terms of, ball dominant players making threes. And what I like is that Anthony Edwards is taking 13.3 per game this season. Only through 3 games, I get it, but that's why I said this is a volume play, a quantity over quality type of a play. He's had 5 threes in every single game. At some point, he probably cools off a little bit, but he's only shooting 38%. I peg him for a 38% type shooter, right? Last year, what was he? He was 36, 37. So, I mean, he's right. He's doing what he's doing. He just has incredible volume. He's going from taking 6 last year to 13.3 this year. I also don't mind his points, but I do think if he gets, so his line right now is 26.5. I do think if he gets to 27 points, most likely he has at least 3 threes, which would be right before we cash this one. And if he has a really good scoring night, I think he goes out there and cashes for 4, which is what we would need. So I like his threes a little bit more, but I don't necessarily mind his points. Right now, you can get -105 over on DraftKings for this over 3.5. On Caesars, -145, so a 40% discount. FanDuel, -125. MGM, -120. So definitely some serious value over on DraftKings, which brings me to a nice little transition here, guys. If you are not signed up for other sportsbooks in your state, I highly encourage you guys to do so. Make sure you're getting the best odds and the best lines out there. Like that Anthony Edwards one, -105 on DraftKings. If you only had Caesars or FanDuel, you're literally paying another 20 or 40 cents. Think of it as gas. You're always driving around looking for the cheapest gas. Or when you buy a car, why would you buy it for $5,000 if you can walk down the street and get the same car for $2,500, right? Why are you not getting the best price? The link in the pinned comment will take you to a page where all you have to do is plug in your state. Sometimes it auto detects too. It's really cool. But plug in your state, and then you're going to get all of the sports books that are available in your state and the best sign-up bonuses like FanDuel's right now. Bet $5, get some money back in bonus bets if that bet cashes, and you're gonna get 3 months free of NBA League Pass. That is an absolute steal. Caesars, you get $1,000 back if your first bet doesn't cash. You get that in a bonus bet. Bet $5, get $200 instantly from DraftKings. A lot of great deals out there, guys. Go ahead and take advantage of it. Diversify your portfolio in terms of your bankroll to get the best odds out there. So go check it out. That link is in the pinned comment. Go sign up for a new sportsbook today. Highly encourage you guys to do that. Like I said, the gas, the car, there's so many analogies out there. Why are you overpaying for something if you do not need to, especially in today's day and age? But go check it out. That link is in the pinned comment. But yeah, to recap this game, Minnesota -5. Don't mind the under, and then I like Anthony Edwards over 3.5 3-pointers made. Keep an eye on the pinned comment to see what, or if anything, I guess, we roll with in that game. Only 4 games today. We're not forcing anything, especially after a 5-1 night last night. Moving on to Brooklyn hosting Denver. This is another game that involves a back-to-back spot. Denver beat Toronto yesterday. It honestly looked like they were on their way to 0-3. They were losing to Toronto for a decent amount of that game. They ended up pulling it out 127-125. So I guess shout out to them. They went to overtime. So definitely not the best spot in a sense for a back-to-back, right? The Nets did have a day off, and they're coming off a win against Milwaukee. So clap it up. Kudos to them. Overall, I still do think this is a decent spot for Denver. Neither one of these teams are going to be flying around the court. At least I don't envision either one of these teams flying around the court. Brooklyn's kind of a middle-of-the-pack pace team. Denver, we know, likes to play slow, so I know that they're on a back-to-back, and they went to overtime, and they could be gassed, but if this game goes slow, and that totals down at 218, right? If this game moves rather slowly, I do think that Denver can still prevail. So I'm going to lean towards the favorite again here, minus the 5 points, Denver on the road. Do I like the spot? No, that back-to-back situation stinks, but this is the Nets. I know they just beat Milwaukee, but I still don't sit here and say, oh my God, this Nets team is so good. They've been pretty efficient so far this season. The defense hasn't looked all that terrible. There's no real weakness. I mean, I think from like the right corner, they're terrible defensively, but how niche is that, right? So yeah, their defense has looked okay. They've been really really good in the paint, but overall, I don't know how long that'll last. And this Denver team, who's off to a slow start to start the year, at some point, I feel like the chain catches and they get going, you know? So I'm going to lean Denver minus the 5 points. Maybe that overtime back-to-back spot keeps me away from it, but that's the direction I'll lean in. That total's at 228.5. I'll lean towards the under there as well, even though it is super low. Much like the Timberwolves and Dallas spot, I don't like the under as much as I do like the spread. So if I had to pick a spot there and pick one, it would be the spread. And in terms of player props, nothing really jumping out to me. But as always, keep an eye on the pinned comment. Like I tell you guys multiple times in the video, a million times in the videos, honestly. Keep an eye on the pinned comment for any ads or anything like that. But give me Denver minus the 5 points. It's probably the only thing that I would touch in that one, if anything. I'm moving on to the Jazz taking on the Kings. Both teams on back-to-backs. That's what we have on the, like, sort of the residuals of a big NBA slate like yesterday, right? 11 games. You're going to have plenty of back-to-back spots here. But Utah played Dallas. They caught an L. Sacramento played Portland. They won 111-98. They're actually 13-point favorites at closing time. That is a push. So against the spread this year, they're 0-2-1. On the road, they're 0-1. Utah yet to get their win. This is an interesting spot because both teams are on a back-to-back. That total is way up there at 235. And do I think either team is defensive? Not necessarily. I think this Kings team can put buckets up in a hurry, and Utah definitely struggles at the rim. The Kings are phenomenal at the rim this season, so I do think the Kings have an advantage here, but I think my favorite spot in this one in terms of a game pick may in fact be the under. You have both teams that played in, I think it was like 13 or 14 no rest days last year, and they only scored 111 to the Jazz, and then I think it was 110 for the Kings, so they did not score a plethora of points on these back-to-back spots. Now, did the Kings really have to stress about a Portland victory? No. Did we see, the Jazz, go exert themselves crazily? Not necessarily, but overall, I still do think that those were two games that were close enough, I guess, to some degree, to prevent these guys from just wanting to sprint up and down the court, which both teams are tied for 6th in terms of pace through their first few games here. So I think things slow down. That total's super, super high. 235, I'm going to go under. In terms of a spread pick, I've kind of done everything that I've wanted to do to try and get to the Jazz, and I couldn't get there. Sacramento's the better offense. Sacramento's the better defense. They're the more efficient team on both ends as well. They should win the points in the paint battle. They should win the perimeter battle. So to me, yeah, it's kind of a tough spot here to sit there and say, let's go out there and bet on the Jazz, even though I think it could be a good spot. Both teams on a back-to-back. The Kings offense might not be firing on all cylinders like normal, but I'll tell you, I literally went in with the angle of trying to get to the Jazz and couldn't. So I'm leaning towards another favorite. Through 3 games, we're leaning towards 3 favorites here. In terms of a player prop, I don't mind the idea of sticking in the Colin Sexton camp here. His line is way higher now. It's at 16.5 after 23 last night. It was 14, but again, I do still like it. 2 point guards, and I know Keontae George is the true point guard of that team, but Colin Sexton, obviously ball dominant, and came into the league as a point guard. Sacramento has allowed a lot of points, rebounds, and assists to point guards throughout the season. Now, Utah has really struggled defending the rim, and that makes me think about Domantas Sabonis. So in terms of what we have for his props here, over 17.5 points, that seems like it could be a lot. 25.5 points plus assists, I don't mind there. And then one that I probably end up liking the most is, honestly, Domantas Sabonis, over 37.5 points, rebounds, and assists. He's hit this in 2 of his last 3 games against Utah. The one time he didn't, he had 34. He didn't shoot all that tremendously from the field. I think, he was like under, it was like 45%, something like that, under what he had been in the first few the games there. So yeah, I like Sabonis to have a decent game here, both rebounding, passing, and at the hoop. I don't really think that this is a Utah team that's built to stop him with Walker Kessler or John Collins. They have a couple guys that are out now as well, so give me him to have a good game. But overall, I think the Kings do end up putting up a decent game here, and the Jazz don't necessarily have the fight in them. So I'm going to lean Kings minus 6 points, but I like that under a lot, as well as to potentially taking a peek there at Sabonis's points around the rim. And then, like I said, Colin Sexton, being on the perimeter may have some success against the Sacramento defense. Real quick, guys, we just launched the new Gambler Fall 2024 collection. You can see I'm rocking the crew neck here. I have the rope hat in the yellow and navy. Really, really good stuff, guys. If you do want to go support us and get some great quality merch, like this crew neck is incredible. It's right here. We have great prices. The Super Comfort hoodie is probably, if not my actual top, but probably one of my favorite things that we've ever released in terms of products. Comes in the green, which is a dark green. Comes in gray with the black embroidery. And then it also comes in black with white. But really, really good stuff, guys. This is kind of like an oversized fit, nice and comfy. But we got tons of stuff over on the shop if you do want to pick it up. Like the original Gambler collection here. You can see it there. Still in the top 5, both of these 4 are best sellers. These are auto-ranked for our best sellers. These were launched literally over a year ago, and there's still 3 of the top 5 best sellers. So the Gambler collection has always been a great seller. But if you guys do want to pick up some merch, head over to the link in the pinned comment or just go to fademe.store and pick up some merch. You can put in your email right here and you get a $10 discount. We never send spam or anything like that. We just use that email to send out new deals and exclusive offers. So go ahead and check it out, guys. That link is in the pinned comment. If you do want to support what we're doing here and pick up some great merch like this, it's a good day for a parlay t-shirt. Head over to fademe.store. And again, sign up with your email, you get 10% off. But let's go into the last game here on today's slate. All right, and our last game of today is going to be Golden State taking on New Orleans. A few major injuries to note in this one. Steph Curry out. Andrew Wiggins also a game-time decision on that side, so 2 potential starters out for Golden State. But we have Murphy and Murray also out on the New Orleans side of things. So both these teams missing, crucial guys to their team. Obviously, New Orleans has dealt with both of those injuries a little bit more than Golden State, who this is going to be the first game fully without Steph, right? But overall, you have Golden State here at 3-point dogs, total at 218. I think I like the Pelicans here in this spot. They got smacked and embarrassed by Portland, so I feel like this is going to be a kind of a bounce back spot for them, but Golden State is at home, and we've seen some guys step up, but I think that Golden State team is going to be so reliant on Steph this season. Think about how, Draymond's there, right? But think about how young everyone else is. They have Podziemski, they have Kuminga, they have TJD. Like, this is not the oldest of Warriors team, and I think that, they're going to need that veteran scorer in Steph to be good this year. So without him, I don't feel all that confident in this Pelicans team. I would love them to have Murray, hell, even if Murphy was, playing so far. But overall, McCollum, Ingram, Zion, Daniel Tice, this shouldn't be the hardest of matchups for him. So far, Golden State's actually been kind of a team that's been locking up around the rim, which Daniel Tice, I don't expect him to go out there and try and bang with the bigs underneath, you know what I mean? So it almost fits kind of well. I will say, in that same thought process, I hadn't really made note to say this, but now that it crosses my mind, Golden State locking up the rim, like, that is going to make it tough on Zion, but I do think, with fouling and whatnot, he could still have a decent game. But overall, I think that's going to be one in sort of the mid-range and kind of around the paint, not necessarily in it, which I think New Orleans with Brandon Ingram and McCollum could be pretty damn good there. So I'm going to lean towards the Pelicans here, minus the points. That total's at 218. I'll still lean towards the over. This New Orleans defense, they allowed, 125 to the Blazers, right? Allowed 120, they allowed 111, 112 something to Chicago. Golden State, their defense looks pretty good to start the season. And I think even without Steph out there, maybe they get a little bit better defensively. But if I think New Orleans is going to have some success on the offensive end, and I don't believe in their defense all that much, 218 seems a little bit too low. So give me the Pelicans as well as the over. And then a player prop that I really do like is going to be Brandon Ingram here, over 23.5 points plus assists. He's hit this so far in 2 of his 3 games to start the season. The one that he didn't, it was, he was against Portland. He only played 31 minutes, and it was in the blowout fashion, so no one really played well. A couple nights before he played Portland and had 21-4 against them, right? So I do think this is a decent spot for him to go out there and do his thing again. 23.5 points plus assists. DraftKings minus 105. The rest of the book's kind of in the minus 115 range. So a lot of value seemingly on DraftKings today. But guys, that is going to wrap it up for today's show. If you made it this far in the video, go ahead and comment 19. You pretty much made it 19 minutes into the video, and I do thank you. I know I say it and rant at the end of a lot of videos about, when I say comment 19. It seems so simple, but what you guys don't realize, or at least you might realize, if you don't, I'll tell you, what you don't realize is that I read these comments and I see the people commenting 19 over and over again, and to me, that is like, holy crap, someone just watched and listened for 19 minutes. You know what I mean? Like, that is so special to me that we can make a video, put all this effort into editing it and getting the graphics and then the research on the games, and someone's still gonna sit there and watch for 19 minutes. You know, like it's the exact opposite, the antithesis of when someone says, shut up and just give me the plays, right? Or give me the picks. When someone comments 19, it's telling me that you had the patience and you really did, pardon my French, but you really did fuck with me for 19, 20, whatever it is minutes. You know what I mean? So I really do appreciate it. Hit that subscribe button if you are new. Hit that like button. We'll catch you guys in the next one, all right? Peace out.